Hi, this is Karen Batra, and I am coming to you live from the BioBuzz Center on the floor of BIO's International Convention. With me today is Rob Saik. Rob is a professional agrologist and CEO of Agri-Trend out of Canada. He was also our keynote speaker kicking off our Food and Ag Track sessions this morning here in Philadelphia. Before I get started, Rob, I just want to mention your TEDx talk that is very, very popular online, making sure that our viewers get a chance to Google that and take a look at that. Remind everybody of what that title is.
Right. I did a TEDx talk last year, and it's entitled, Will Agriculture Be Allowed to Feed 9 Billion People? So if you just looked Rob Saik, S-A-I-K, online at TEDx, you'd find it.
Perfect. Thank you. So part of your presentation this morning kind of piggybacked on that theme, and it was under the kind of the overarching theme of telling your story, which is a big part of what we're trying to do here in Philadelphia. So I know as a professional in this industry, one of the challenges I face is boiling down complicated technology and science into a soundbite. So you do this really, really well. Why don't you explain to our viewers, if you had a 30-second elevator speech, what that speech would be?
Very often in agriculture, we get asked about GMOs, negatively asked about GMOs. So the first question I like to ask is, what is a GMO? And generally they don't know. They just have a preconceived notion. And I'll say, well, are you against GMOs because of some big corporate control thing that you figure out? And they say, yeah, I think that's it. Farmers should be allowed to save their seeds and stuff. And I said, well, do you know the first successful GMO crop? And they go, well, it's got to be corn or soybeans or something. I said, actually, it's papaya. And it's the fact that GMO technology saved the papaya industry by Dr. Gonzalez and his team breeding in resistance to the ring spot virus in papaya. It saved the Hawaiian papaya industry. And they go, well, I didn't know that. And I'm going, well, there's probably more about genetic engineering that consumers don't know. For example, this conference is all about the utilization of biotechnology in humans and how wonderful it is that we can treat human beings with biotech for insulin, for example.
That's right.
Or for hemophiliacs, for GMOs and hemophiliacs. But when it comes to food, there's that disconnect. So I try to make them aware of that.
That's a very good point, which I also want to mention your book, the Agriculture Manifesto. So 10 key drivers that will shape agriculture in the next decade. So obviously we don't have time to talk about all 10, but what are some of the common themes that we should definitely watch for in the future?
Well, I'm concerned about the non-science movement taking valuable tools away from agriculture, but I think in the book I talk really about one negative, which is the non-science, and 10 positive things that are really going to impact agriculture going forward, with the overriding one really being data. The ability to manage and measure farm data right now is extraordinary. Whether you're in the livestock industry or the cropping industry, our ability to connect information from the things we're growing or raising is really quite fantastic. Soil moisture sensors, satellites that go overhead, in-season, in-field monitors, all of those things connecting create what I like to call is a nervous system, a digital nervous system for the farming operation. And that should help us to raise consumer confidence, because when we track it and measure it, we can show them transparency.
Definitely. Now, I do want to go back to your presentation this morning when you did talk about the non-science movement, and you talked a lot about food paranoia. Now, what role do we play in industry and academia to combat those messages?
I guess today, when you raise the issue of GMO in food, there is 10% column on the left that is very, very loud. The 10%, this room, the science industry, is very quiet. 80% of the people in the middle are just trying to figure out what it means. But when you only hear that side of it, the activist side of it, they start to believe and think that that's real. We've been silent. The agriculture and the science community has been silent for far too long, and we need to start to tell our story. And that's why I wrote the book, that's why I did the TEDx talk, that's why we're doing what we're doing.
And part of that effort is your No GMO movie. That's No, K-N-O-W, GMO movie that you are currently working on. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit more about that project?
My son's a filmmaker, and last year, after not appearing on another anti-GMO documentary, after being on camera for 2 hours and not appearing, I got angry and I called up my son, Nick, and I said, let's make a movie. Let's make a movie called No GMO. He goes, geez, that's weird, Dad. I said, K-N-O-W, No GMO, an uplifting discussion of food to understand the technology better. And so we've started to do that. It's all been basically grassroots funded with farmers and farm organizations. We've raised about $750,000 on our way to a budget of about 1.2. It'll be global in nature and provide vignettes for schools, and it's really an exciting project to show the positive side of technology and genetic engineering in agriculture.
It is a very positive project. So as we start to wrap up, just remind us and remind our viewers what we can do to help support that effort.
Well, I think it's critical that agriculture just start to share its story. We can't sit on our hands at dinner while people challenge our industry, and we need to stand up and shout out of the darkness and start to really be comfortable in talking about our technology and have those sound bites that help us to understand that herbicides are lower, water use efficiency is up, greenhouse gas emissions are down, all as a result of the implementation of genetic engineering technology inside of agriculture. We shouldn't be as scared of it. We should be excited about the opportunities that it brings to securing global food for the world.
Absolutely. So thank you for those words. Thank you for your wonderful presentation this morning.
It was my honor.
This is Karen Batra signing off from the BioBuzz Center in Philadelphia.